Kristi Noem had finally been called to Congress and had to stare down the grim reality of what happened in Minnesota and what's happening in her Department of Homeland Security. Let's start with the grimmest in Minnesota, and I guess that would be Durbin, cut 5. Go ahead. Thank you, Tony.
Secretary Noem, the nation has watched horrified as immigration agents killed Renee Good, Alex Preddy. In Chicago, one of your Border Patrol agents shot Marimor Martinez 5 times after ramming her car. You and your agency rushed to brand these victims as, quote, domestic terrorists. We have ample video evidence and eyewitness testimony proving you are wrong. Your statements caused immeasurable pain to these families. Let me give you an opportunity to do the right thing. Do you retract these statements identifying these individuals as domestic terrorists?
You know, Senator Dermott, when we have these situations happen, we always offer our condolences to those families, and I offer mine as well. These are tragic situations, and I can't imagine what these families go through in losing a loved one. What I will say is we always work to provide the American people with as much information as possible, that we're relying on reports from the ground and from agents that are there and working to be transparent, and we'll continue to do all that we can to provide the accurate information and the facts to people as we can.
Where did you get that information? In the recent hearing before the HISGAC committee, CBP and ICE officials testified under oath that their agencies did not inform you that Preddy was a domestic terrorist during that hearing, stated during that hearing.
I was getting reports from the ground from agents at the scene, and I would say that it was a chaotic scene, as you've seen in Minneapolis and St. Paul, as immigration enforcement has gone forward, and we've worked at targeting the worst of the worst, that many times our agents have been faced with violent
the victims of that violence domestic terrorists as a way to calm the scene?
These violent terrorists have put them in a situation where it's unprecedented what these agents have faced it. So that situation on the ground that day was chaotic, and it was something that they were transpiring and sharing information with us.
Can you explain why you decided to brand these victims that we all saw on video, who were out protesting the activities of your agency and were killed as a result of it? How did you think that calling them domestic terrorists at that scene was somehow going to calm the situation?
You know, Senator, we are working in those situations where there's a tragic loss of life and that there is something that our agents are involved in, that we continue to deliver information.
Is it so hard to say you were wrong?
We continue, as these investigations continue to go, we will provide, I absolutely strive to provide factual information, and we'll continue to do that.
And when you fail, do you admit it publicly?
Absolutely. We always know that there's room for improvement, that we will.
Steve Porter Jr.
Stop the talk. So.
Steve Porter Jr. and Dr. Linda Davis.
Yeah, there you go. So that's a little bit of the Noem, and essentially what he was saying there was, right, that's cool. Why did you brand these people domestic terrorists when the other agencies associated with just that said that they saw no evidence of domestic terrorism? But you felt compelled immediately to brand them as domestic terrorists, these people who were openly executed in the streets of Minneapolis. Now to White House and Kristi Noem. Sheldon Whitehouse, cut 7.
Could you explain this?
Sir, I'm looking at a picture of an interior, looks like a bedroom.
Of an airplane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You're not familiar with that?
These photos are not accurate. If you're referring to the airplanes that the Department of Homeland Security has purchased and are purchasing, we're using them for long-range command and control aircraft that is dictated in statute by Congress for the Department of Homeland Security to have a plane.
Luxury jet with a bedroom in it?
Yeah, we used a 737. I've been on it once, but it is being used by other administration officials, and it is used for command and control flights for the department. The department has found that in purchasing our aircraft, that we will save the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars.
Does it have a bedroom in it?
In fact, we spent $1.42 billion on ICE deportation flights last year.
Does it have a bedroom in it?
I believe it's being refurbished and not having a bedroom in it. So it is being refurbished.
Part of the room. What kind of
This,
deportee justifies being flown out of the country in a luxury jet with a bedroom and accommodations like this?
there are aircraft being purchased that will be utilized for executive air travel and for deportations.
Well, your
If you
people
remember
said
in
that
the
this
past,
was
we
gonna
have
be
used
deportations.
jets of this size and this configuration for deportations in the past. If you remember
In this configuration, by this configuration, you mean
I
with a
didn't see
bedroom
the
and
inside
luxury
of them.
accommodations like this
That
you've
plane-
used for deportations. Is that true?
Sir, we have 737s that are being purchased by the department to replace contracts that we have on ICE deportations. That's what they're going to be used for. And in fact, the Coast Guard is the only entity within the Department of Homeland Security that has jets at this point in time. They had two G5s that were 20 to 25 years old
Let me ask
that are
you
being
about
replaced
the
so that they can
response
continue to serve our
from
Coast Guard and our military
Some senior
for
administration
years to come.
officials about these aircraft. They've been reported as saying, although they don't want to say publicly this, but individuals described as senior administration officials have described these airplane purchases as the world's worst deal and an abuse of federal funds. Can you tell me what the Republicans on this committee who voted for what I call the billionaires bill that gave you the money to buy these jets knew about your plans to acquire luxury jets when they voted for that money?
The dollars for these airplanes was appropriated by Congress. In fact, it's mandated from Congress and rules that you've given us that we need to have a long-range command and control aircraft that will seat up to 17 people in the Department of Homeland Security for national security purposes. We are complying with the law. Those planes are being refurbished and will be utilized
we'll
for that,
see.
and they'll be
Two quick
utilized
questions
by
in my
members of
last
the
minute, if you don't
administration and
mind.
other components.
First,
They will also cut our costs, sir,
First, in my last
by
minute,
almost
if you don't mind,
40%. We are saving the
you-
taxpayer 40% by purchasing our own aircraft
May I
and
have a
operating
minute?
them rather than being susceptible to the contracts that they have today.
may I have an extra 2 minutes to fill in the filibuster there?
Yeah, she's filibustering, of course. This is her thing, just to chew up the time. But just one more thing from Kristi Noem. Of course, the jet and the demand she's made for different jets to move around the country, we've detailed them here. The other thing that I've talked to you about is the way in which she has awarded these media contracts, huge media contracts, to family members or staff members' families. It's all in this very small circle. So these no-bid contracts on huge media buys where you see her picture in airports and you see her videos and the media buys associated with running those videos on Fox News Channel, on CNN, on network television. There was a Super Bowl ad that they bought with Kristi Noem, and all the different ways in which they're getting that message out. Well, that is a huge budget item that is being awarded to those who have connections to Kristi Noem. And it turns out it is staffers, et cetera. Here's the no-bid contract referenced in these conversations, cut 6, in the continuing effort to hold her to account.
On a U.S. government website that says that contract for $143 million was a no-bid contract. Public documentation says the contract of $143 million went to the Safe America company created 11 days before they got an award. That company then subcontracted with the strategy group, and you are familiar with many of the principals in the strategy group, correct?
I know one of them,
Mr. Yoho.
yes.
And let me show you a photograph. That's Mr. Yoho standing next to you, correct?
Yes,
Now, Mr. Yoho is also the husband of your former spokesperson. Is that correct?
correct.
Tricia McLaughlin.
Yes,
So your former secretary, your former assistant secretary and her husband are the ones that got the subcontract from Safe America, or from Safe America. That's what the record shows. Any dispute about that?
no, except there was no politicals, myself or anyone else besides career employees who were a part of that process
Except
for putting out those
well,
contracts and
that's
choosing those
generous.
vendors.
But what you have is the Republican operative.
Well, you're trying to insinuate that
I'm not
I
insinuating.
put my-
I'm
yes,
stating
you
a
are.
fact. The fact is
You're saying that I
Mr.
weighed in on this
Yoho-
contracting
Mis-
process and I did not.
Mr. Chairman, the fact is that Mr. Yoho was married to your assistant secretary, is married, correct?
Yes, they are still married.
All right. And Mr. Yoho also ran an ad campaign for you in your gubernatorial campaign, correct?
Yes,
And he also attended your inauguration.
yes,
And Mr. Yoho received $8.5 million, or his company did, from the taxpayers of South Dakota when you ran an ad promotion showing you doing various jobs like a plumber and a dentist, correct?
again, that was done according to the law and processes at the state of South
I
Dakota.
understand, but
Yeah,
this
well-
is a person that worked on your campaign. This is a person that worked on your media plan in South Dakota when you were governor. And this is a person who also worked on your memoir. Is that correct?
On my memoir,
And he worked with Mr. Lewandowski. Is that correct?
I don't know, sir. I don't know about the business
Mr.
arrangements they've had in the
Lewandowski
past.
is your special advisor.
Special government employee.
Right.
For the White
And
House.
Mr. Lewandowski brought Mr. Yoho into your camp. They had worked on the Louisiana governor's campaign, correct?
No, I knew Ben Yoho before that.
All right. So the person that you knew, Mr. Yoho, the husband of your assistant secretary, is the person in the company that got the subcontract 11 days after this original company, Safe America, was founded. That's the record.
So you get the
So I have a
chain of
question.
custody here, which is
Did
just, and I
Mr.
love that Lewandowski was folded into all of this. It didn't get any better for her. I mean, she's getting called out on this. Again, it's against the backdrop of a war in Iran. I don't know how many people are seeing this, but it's good that at least it's in the record. We have two more cuts quickly. Kennedy, cut 14, is not a guy who you expect to say this kind of thing that he's about to say.
Saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am.
About her
I'm
ads.
asking you, sorry to interrupt.
Her $220 million.
The president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes,
The
sir. We
president-
went through the legal processes, did it
Did the
correctly,
president
worked
know
with
you were gonna do
OMB.
this?
Yes,
He did.
yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
Well, they were effective
overwhelmingly.
in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I mean, my research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me. A fifth to a quarter of $1 billion of taxpayer money when we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages. I just can't agree with, Madam Secretary. Are you still running those ads?
No, Senator, I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. I know politicals at the Department of Homeland Security did.
I understand. Are you
Clear
still running
officials
those
followed
ads?
the competitive bid process for
Are you
that.
still running
Everything
those
was,
ads?
I think the ads are due to end here in March, I think within a week
So
or two.
they
I'm
are
not sure of the
still running?
update. The one that is running is focusing on angel families. Have you seen that? It is the one that's talking about this is our why. This is why we work every day.
Okay.
Is for the angel
I've gotta
families and
move
their
on.
victims that need to.
And you're saying
So you get a sense of it, and plus there are some lies that she snuck in there that these contracts were bid out. There were no bid contracts involved, of course. Yeah,
It's interesting how many Republicans came at her with the I would say what appears to be fraud. They came after her for the plane. They came after her for the contracts that were given to people that she's very friendly with. Even Tom Tillis came after her as well. He talked about the book she wrote and what of a poor leader she is. So
go ahead, run some of
Yeah.
that Tom Tillis stuff on the way out here, Tony, please.
It was absurd. You heard the things from Senator Brett, people
Gotta
that came
crank
over
this
here
up.
who themselves were
I won't say
traumatized by
anything.
the
She can
very
crank it up at
people
home.
who then come to this country and traumatize American citizens. You heard Senator Schmidt saying the same thing. A lot of us are very frustrated with the disaster that President Biden left behind and a failed DHS. It's why I'm angry, and it's why I've been critical of you, Secretary Noem, because we're missing an opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons President Trump won a year and a half ago is because people were sick and tired of a Democratic administration's open border policy and allowing millions of people to come to this country, 1.7 million called gotaways. We don't even know where they are, but we know when you pay a premium to a cartel to get them into this country, they're bad people. Now, why have I been critical of Secretary Noem? Because I don't think we're focusing on, we have limited resources. ICE can't be everywhere at once. There's very few people in Capitol Hill that support law enforcement more than me, including the sworn ICE officers. In fact, I've just been told, fortunately, in about a week and a half, we're going to get a plaque on the wall over the Capitol, thanking the Capitol police officers and all the agencies that responded on January 6th. All those thugs have actually been pardoned, and yet we haven't thanked the Capitol police officers for their work here. So when I say I'm unapologetically pro-law enforcement, you can count in every single sworn officer in Homeland Security. So why am I disappointed with Secretary Noem? Because we're not going after enough people who did this damage at the expense of running numbers that Stephen Miller wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day, because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis. I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed. But before I get back to looking at the vicious people that did this damage to these families, I want to talk a minute about FEMA. You have a policy right now that anything over $100,000 has to go through your desk for approval. I asked my staff, because I'm a management consultant, I don't try to do cheap shots in here, but the facts do not lie. This is your administration for FEMA response. This is President Trump's first administration. Which one would you like to have? If you're a state that has a $60 billion disaster, your biggest disaster in South Dakota that I can tell that when you were an elected official was about $500 million. So 1/100th of this single storm where thousands of people are hurting in North Carolina and you're just barely catching up. This is what competent FEMA leadership looks like. This is what incompetent FEMA leadership looks like. And people are hurting in Western North Carolina from the most significant storm they've ever experienced. This is what we need more of. I'm convinced you can't do it. If you're requesting a review of $100,000 and up, then it begs the question, why? Why would you be involved in that? Why would that be a policy? And in a minute, I'll ask about some people that are involved, some special government employees. Why are they involved in it?
Yeah, so he gets to Lewandowski, too. So this is all pretty great. He asks about Lewandowski. Sorry, I hope the audio, you could crank it up and hear it. But, yeah, you're right. When you lose Tillis, you lose an ally. Yeah, it's... She is, as you know, Lewandowski and I made the point before, he's the one running DHS. She's not running DHS. She's, don't get me wrong, I don't think she's completely ghosting DHS. But if you want something done at DHS, you go to Lewandowski, don't go to Kristi Noem.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.